Welcome.
Welcome to
Cigar.
Cigar
Public.
Public. And welcome to Cigar Public.
Skip Martin from RoMa Craft Tobac. Welcome to Cigar Public.
Skip, thanks so much for making time and showing up at our studio. Really appreciate
Of course,
having you
man.
here.
Of course. Thanks for inviting us.
So-
this reminds me of the old Cigar Dave stage.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the way this layout has kind of been serving us really, really well.
Yeah, man. You guys are doing a lot of the innovative, cool things, man. It's good to see.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
It's good to see people pushing the ball forward.
Yeah, I'm always trying to get kind of to the nux of the culture, nux of the industry, what the driving spirit is behind it. So I'd like to delve into your early days with RoMa Craft, kind of the impetus to get this company started, making it a reality.
About the origin story?
Yeah, well,
man, I don't do the origin story.
Well, give us some of the challenges you had to overcome that were the most difficult to conquer.
Well, I mean, everything in this business is a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I went to a country I'd never been to. I mean, I had traveled the world extensively, but I had never been to Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know anyone. I didn't speak Spanish. I was a very prolific cigar smoker. I had been a retailer, so I really understood the market, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I had seen companies come and go. And, when I first went, I really just wanted to I was going to open a new retail shop. So
right.
my shop had gotten hit by a hurricane.
Wow.
And so I was going to open a new shop. And one of the things we had is we had kind of, what people call lost and found.
Mm-hmm.
I would take trips down to the factories, and friends of mine, Christian Aroa, Rocky Patel, or Gustavo in La Paraiso, these guys would have abandoned private labels and prototype cigars, and I would bring I'd bring them all back to my shop. At that time, his pre-S ship was like $1 a cigar.
Uh-huh.
Some of them were 6, 7 years old and amazing, and there weren't that many, so I sold them for $15, $20. Some of them were, not bad, but but there was a lot of them, and they were, average, derivative. I would sell those for $2 or $3, and so it kind of really became one of the more profitable parts of my business. And we had one product in particular that was very popular, but I couldn't. They were pretty much all gone. And Davidoff had bought Camacho, so it was the end of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to recreate that, and that ended up being Camacho. That ended up being Cro-Magnon.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really know anything about tobacco in the sense that I'd never sourced tobacco.
Right.
I didn't know how to look at tobacco and know if it was good or not.
Right.
I didn't know if they would be able to reproduce it or have more. So I kind of teamed up with Mike Rosales, who at that time had a brand, and he was having cigars made in Costa Rica. And so Mike kind of showed me the ropes on the tobacco. We started meeting people. He had a guy working for him, Raul Disla, who now is in charge of the Noxa factory.
Right.
And Raul's brother was in charge of the Scandinavia factory back then. And so we asked Esteban to kind of help us recreate this cigar. It was really good. We were selling them direct to consumer. Pretty soon we were selling more cigars than Mike was selling, and people were asking him, "Hey, what about this cigar that everybody's talking about?" And I'm talking about in a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
And pretty soon we just said, "Look, why don't we just let this Costa Rica stuff go?" We still did it for a long time, like selling bundles to Indian reservations and stuff like that, but so that's why our logo says San Jose and Esteli. But we kind of focused on making cigars in Esteli, built a factory. The biggest challenge in this business, there's a lot of people in this business who know tobacco, but they don't understand business.
Right.
And then there's people that understand business really well, or marketing, or whatever their piece is, but they don't really understand tobacco.
They don't understand the craft.
Right.
Right.
And there's a lot of people that kind of one side tries to take advantage of the other side and leverage or get moves on people. And for me, our thing has always just been do business straight up, pay fair prices, you win, I win, and we build long-term relationships.
Right.
And so I would say the biggest challenges that I've had is kind of trying to go against the current.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody kind of welcomes you when you're new, And then when you start getting a little success, then they start having issues with
maybe
you.
have some resentment for you.
Well, I don't know if it's resentment. It's just more like, it is. This isn't your thing. Why are
Right,
you trying to get
right.
involved in our thing? And then when you're in it long enough, I mean, I've been around this industry and this culture since the 90s as a consumer, I had a blog, I was a retailer, I did interviews for other, like Doc Stogie Fresh, which is one of the oldest new media guys that was out there. I was really early on Twitter. I had more Twitter followers almost than any other cigar person, with no interest to sell any, just to be a culture guy, right? I was late to Facebook because I didn't really like it, but Instagram. I mean, look, we had one of the most banging MySpace cigar related.
Sure, that's going way back.
Right. I mean, my social media handle is Chief Hava, and that's what that comes from is we had a cigar store Indian. I had a cigar store, an old cigar store Indian, that we gave this name like Chief Hava. And so when we were on MySpace, it was in the voice of the cigar store Indian. So different people, like my employees or whatever, would do the content for today, but they're doing it as the cigar store Indian. Like he's observing what's going on in the shop or whatever, right? So that's where that comes from. So,
awesome.
But the challenges really at the end of the day are tobacco.
Right.
I mean, people talk about regulation. That sucks, but it's if you sell tobacco, you're going to get regulated.
Sure.
And it's going to get worse, and all you can really hope for is that it's fair.
Right.
Right?
So, looking back, had you known then what you know now as far as how difficult it was to get a successful company like RoMa Craft off the ground, do you think you still would have done it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's definitely things maybe I would have approached in a different way, but Mike and I sat down in 2012 with Jose Blanco and Esteban. Jose Blanco just happened to be visiting, and he was kind of helping me translate what I was trying to explain. And I still have like the back of the envelope where I'm drawing out. This is our go-to-market. This is how we're going to make 30,000 cigars a week. We're going to make 1.2 million cigars a year. We're not going to have salespeople. We're not going to have brokers. We're not going to advertise. In 2 years, we're going to build a new factory. In 2 more years, we're going to build in 1 year, we're going to build a distribution center. In 2 years, we're going to build a new factory. These are the brands we're going to have. This is how we're going to sustain them. This is how many stores we're going to have. This is how we're going to work with the stores. Today, 12 years later, every bit of that could be like a written history as much as it looked like a forward-looking plan. It's exactly what we do, and it's exactly where we are. So it isn't that, we've made little adjustments along the way, but in general, we don't do business the way most cigar businesses do.
Right.
People try to figure out, well, what's your plan to grow? Or we talk to vendors and they say, hey, or distributors, they say, we'll help you grow. It's like, well, we don't want to grow.
Right.
This is the right size for us. This is the right number of brands for us. These are the SKUs we have. We want to support them. This is the number of stores we want to support. And, in the cigar world, as you're starting off and you're buying really good tobacco and making small numbers of cigars, you can make really good cigars. And if you're good at it, you can make money. And then what happens is, and you can do a really good job. And then you get up to a certain point, what happens is you start needing more tobacco to support those brands. So then people don't really want to sell you just that tobacco. They want to sell you other tobacco. So then you're like, okay, to get the tobacco I want, I will buy this other tobacco. So then you have to start making products that you wouldn't otherwise make.
Right.
So then before you know it, you're fermenting your own tobacco. You're doing, like you guys started out as a cigar plan, but imagine like you guys start making your own cigars. Then like, well, one of those cigars is really popular. Now AJ's like, well, if you want to make more of these cigars, I have to go buy more tobacco.
Right.
Which means you're gonna and to buy that tobacco, I have to buy this tobacco. Well, AJ, he can make. He has hot dogs that he makes, and he has hamburgers that he makes, so he can buy the steak off the cow. Right. I mean, and he's got people that use the leather and the hooves. You know what I'm saying? Me, I I don't. We only make one kind of cigar, so when I have kind of stuff that yields out, I don't have any place to consume that. So I don't. For me, if I started doing that, then I would start making products that I don't want to make.
Yeah, so it would alter the identity,
Right.
basically.
And then when you start making those kinds of products and more products, then you need reps because they got to go into C-stores.
Right.
They have to, and then you need to advertise. And then what happens is you hit this trough where you're getting diseconomies of scale. So you get to 1-2 million cigars, you can be profitable. But then when you get to 2, 3, 4, 5 million, you're not profitable.
Right.
And unless you shoot out the other side like LaFleur, Rocky, and these guys, and recover to profitability, and then you kind of start getting economies of scale, like Drew Estate and Rocky and LaFleur and these guys. People that are in that trough, and I could, people who make 2 to 3, 4 million cigars, they come and go because they lose money in that trough. They're flipping through brokers, they're flipping through retailers,
Right.
they're flipping through manufacturers, and you can see them around the floor.
Yep.
You say, how many cigars do you produce a year, or brand a
Right.
year to sell? And some of them are really lucky because they have really deep, good relationships, like Nick and Saka. But some of them learn like Christoph or La Polina, or they learned the hard way.
Yeah.
And we knew from the beginning we had to make our own cigars, and we knew from the beginning this is the level where we could be profitable and be successful without entering that kind of dead zone.
Right.
So
I'd like to expand a little bit on what you just said. You clearly have your own unique approach on the business side. What else do you think, in your mind, separates RoMa Craft from the rest of the players in the industry? Is it the process in the building of the craft? Is it materials you use? Is it your marketing? What do you think, in your mind, sets you apart?
Well, there's no magic tobacco, number one.
Right.
There's some proprietary tobacco. There is a lot of tobacco. There's not a lot of good tobacco. And really differentiated great tobacco is even more hard to find.
Right.
There are a lot of people who can make cigars, and there are very few really gifted cigar makers. And I extend that to fermentation, curing, those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
We don't have any of those things that other people don't have.
Right.
I have an extensive business background, but so does Christian Aroa, so does Jorge Padron, right? But I don't have 50 years of family teaching me and culture growing up. At the end of the day, what we always say is, we make 12. We used to say 10, 11, and $12 cigars. We make them for $6, $7, and $8. We sell them for $6, $7, and $8. But really now, because of the inflation, I should change the saying to, we make and sell $12, $14, $16 cigars for $8, $10, $12.
Right.